Hello everyone, my name is Zhunya. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to my ASMR vlog from China. So in this video I'm gonna be rambling, doing this voice over for these video clips that I made in China during my trip. I spent 14 days to 2 weeks in China, and I visited 3 cities. The first one you can see here. I'm driving my taxi that I called with Alipay. I was really scared, in China, all the apps they are in Chinese, and you cannot use like anything else. So the translator in Alipay that I used for my Didi taxi didn't work. So I was kind of scared calling my taxi because I couldn't see where it's arriving, where should I go, all the stuff. But I survived. I really like traveling because you have no options not to do something, not to try, not to go, not to see. I mean, you can't stay in your room, but you still have to travel. You still have to go and show up for your flights and stuff. But so this is Harbin, the first city I went to. You can see my Russian friend that I visited. She's studying there. I have like friends in China that are studying Chinese and live there. And Harbin is the capital of Heilongjiang province in northeast China, and it's basically the coldest city in the country, kinda the biggest, coldest city, and it's also known as the Russian city. So many Chinese people are coming as tourists to Harbin to see Russia if they cannot travel to Russia, because they have this Saint Sophia Cathedral, which is a real Orthodox Orthodox church, Russian Christian Orthodox church, and a lot of buildings in Harbin. I don't know if you can see that, but they do not really look, maybe not here yet, but later. A lot of buildings kind of reminded me of St. Petersburg, like they were yellow and old, you can see. So Harbin was a very small place and remote, and then it grew explosively when the Russian Empire built the Chinese Eastern Railway through Manchuria as a shortcut for the Trans-Siberian Railway. So Manchuria was a territory that was very wanted by everyone, by Chinese, by Japanese, by Russians. And after China lost the first Sino-Japanese war, Russia made a secret alliance with the Qing dynasty and got the right to build this railway across northeast China. Later on, I'll show you. I went to this museum of railroad, and it was very cool. But here, when you are traveling, you like nothing is really real. So here I saw at this beauty salon that I can get my lashes done, and I've never gotten my lashes done, and I thought, like, why not? And I scheduled a lash appointment for the next day. You'll see it later. Overall, I really enjoyed my stay everywhere in all the cities, but especially in Harbin, I think, because I just arrived, and this drastic with it. It's, by the way, look here, is kinda like where they come to get their mail, like all the stuff that they order on Pinduoduo. And there are no workers. You just come here, scan a code on your own, and look for your thing that you ordered, and you get it, and you go home. I think it's pretty cool. But of course they have cameras everywhere. By the way, look here, you have 3 churches next to each other: a Protestant, Orthodox, and a Catholic church, like all of them next to each other. I think it is very, very cool. And with food, honestly, I'm not a big foodie. Like, I like to eat, but I'm also not, I would never spend a lot of money on a restaurant. Maybe when I'm like very rich, I would go to a Michelin restaurant, I guess, to try these like very nice sets. But I was mostly going to my friends' university cafeterias and like these cheap restaurants with grilled meats, like grilled everything. I really liked it. Grilled lamb, grilled hearts, grilled tendons. Oh yeah, here she is doing my lashes. This lady, she was like a jack of all trades. She was doing lashes, nails, and massages, I guess. I don't know. Here I went to my friend's university, and I was kinda baffled by the absence of people on the African continent, but they even put like people on Greenland continent. Like, why did they do that? This was probably my favorite dish. This fried rice in Uyghur. I don't know if you call it in English Uyghur. This is like a small ethnic group in China, and these people are Muslim, and they have these cafeterias with halal food. I really liked it. It was very nice. And the fried rice, maybe they put a lot of MSG in that, so this is the reason why their food is so nice. But I really like it. Look at this lady with the wings. They all cosplay like Russian princesses. I don't know how you say, but you have like Princess Sophia costume rental shops everywhere, and I don't know, maybe it's not really a Russian suit. Would be cooler if they were wearing Russian traditional costumes, but it's okay. Sometimes I can get very judgmental of Europeans that say, oh, these letters, no, I cannot distinguish them. Is it Korean, Japanese, or Chinese? I do not care. All of them are characters, and they all love rice, and blah blah blah, things like that. But Chinese people, most of them, are so arrogant about the rest of the world that it's kind of fascinating to me. For example, that nail lady we were listening to, I mean, it's not like I'm saying that it's bad. I think it's so cool that they are distant from American global pop culture. They have all of their things are there, they are not influenced by anyone else, kinda. So that lady was listening to a song, and that was an American song. I don't even remember which one. I don't think it was very popular, but she said, oh, can you hear this song? This is a very popular Russian song in China right now, and my friend told her that it was an American song, not Russian. And the lady replied, well, doesn't matter, it is still very good. And my friend told me that her Chinese friend thought that Lady Gaga was Russian, and she didn't want her to think otherwise, so she just said yes, Lady Gaga is Russian. So I think she could be. Here you can see how Harbin looked like when it was, well, it never was really Russian, but because Russians were building the railroad, for decades, Harbin had one of the largest Russian communities outside of Russia, and still they basically have Chinese people that look like Russians, but they do not speak Russian because they are generations of them just living in China and speaking Chinese and being Chinese citizens, which is very cool. And here it is called Barocco Street, Chinese Barocco. And I really enjoyed walking there. I had a few kids, like a few parents, they wanted to take pictures with me and my friends. One of them was very small. It was a very small baby, and I think it kind of got scared of me. Sometimes I see how kids look at you, like me, Europeans, and they are very fascinated and surprised, which is, I find it very cute. I remember people reacting the same in Korea, especially to my siblings, because my siblings used to be blonde when they were toddlers, and there were a lot of ajumas, like Korean grandmas, surrounding my mom with my siblings and looking at them and touching them. I imagine the situation is the same in China, but as I know, it was even more wild in the past. Now, because of how many foreigners are coming to China, especially to southern provinces, cities like Shanghai, they kind of get used to it. I also really liked my trip because it was not as touristy, because I had friends who already knew how everything is in the cities, and they were showing me around, and I also met a lot of new friends from China, from other countries like Italy, Mongolia, Kazakhstan. It was very, very cool. Oh, here you can see me drinking Nitra. Well, not Nitra straw. If you see a snowman coffee shop, it's like in China, you should go there. It's very cheap and very tasty. You can get like simple milk tea with tapioca. You can get boba teas, smoothies, and all of that is like $1 per drink, which is so cheap. And here I'm at the night market. I guess they call it night market. I really like the seafood, but I kind of looked at those insects, but I didn't dare. But in Qingdao, you will see. I tried one. The next day, my friends invited me to their school, to their university, and it was pretty cool. I arrived and they warned the professors, the teachers in advance about me, but I still kind of said hi, and I know a few phrases if you are a teacher, why aren't you at work? And I was very confused because like I didn't understand what she said. But my friend translated and she said like, I'm working online. But it's interesting like her reaction because I mean teachers can work online, right? And that day we went to a mall and I ate Chinese pastries. They were very tasty, and we went to this quest. I guess you call it quest. It was very fun, and that was the greatest day in Harbin and my last one. And the thing I really like about China is how cheap the food is in airports. They probably control it with their anti-capitalistic or whatever. I don't know then how they regulate that, but in Russia, literally like water in airport in Moscow, it's so expensive, and in Turkey too. But in China, it's all very affordable. I think in Korea as well, but not as cheap. I think the main reason is because of their cold of food in Asia and Eastern Asia. And here I'm already in Qingdao or Qingdao. It's confusing because on the beer, the famous Chinese beer from this city, from this region, the way they spell it in English, on the bottle it says T-S Ingdao, Qingdao, but it's actually pronounced Qingdao. Why do I say but? I don't know. I shouldn't say but. It's not the correct conjunction that I should use here. We went with my friends, my other friends here. One of them is my neighbor, like my literal neighbor. We live on the same floor in Krasnodar, in my hometown, and she's studying in China now, and it's so nice that they invited me as well. In Harbin, I was living in a hotel, and it was very cheap, guys. I had a great room, very cheap. And in Qingdao, I lived with my friends. They were so kind, accommodating me. I'm really grateful. So Qingdao is a major port city on the coast of Shandong province, famous for its beaches, seafood, and for being the home of Qingdao beer. It is located on the same parallel latitude with South Korea. It only takes like 1 hour, hour and a half on a plane to go to South Korea from this city, and the climate was very similar. Like I could notice how the trees are kind of the same, the air, it's pretty dry because it was already late November, and it was very, very humid and very, very hot in summer, but very, very dry in winter. So about Qingdao, it was a German colony actually, and Germans built their European-style villas, churches, and government buildings. And in 1903, they founded the Qingdao Brewery. That's why they have the beer. Here, I was trying to cosplay the Chinese beauty standard. Their ideal woman is a very, very slim girl with big eyes, with double eyelid, and with big ears, joking, and it's crazy how they get this foundation, that looks a little bit gray or blue. I tried one and it was probably the best foundation that I've ever tried. The way the coverage was just crazy. Here I am playing in the park with a random dude. It was very nice. I've never played this game, and the man was very kind to us. After playing, he hugged us and gave us this little thing that we played with, that we kicked, and after it we danced with all the old ladies, and it was very cool. I like the way they all gather and do their evening activities. Most of the time, I think it's at 7 p.m. Here you can see me dancing as well. I think I learned it pretty quickly, not as bad. The red-haired girl is my Italian friend. She was also very, very nice. I kind of feel sad about the gap that I felt between myself and other Chinese people, because mostly it was the language barrier, but also the cultural barrier in a way. So I think it's very important to have someone who speaks Chinese or who speaks English, so you can communicate, because with the translator it's almost impossible. And once I tried to actually talk to a Chinese man with using my Mandarin, and it was a big fail because I mistakenly used the word non-pengyo instead of pengyo. So I said that I have 2 boyfriends in China, one in Qingdao and one in Harbin, and I came to visit them. And they asked me again, like, really? You have 2 boyfriends in China? And I wanted to say 2 friends. Do you have 2 boyfriends in China? And I'm like, yeah, 对. Oh, and here my friend, she just asked me, do you want to eat a scorpion with me? And you should never ask me twice for things like this. If you ask me, Zhunya, let's go travel, Zhunya, let's go try this thing, if it's legal and if it's not hurting other people, I'm gonna say yes, most probably. And with the Scorpio, honestly, nothing really impressive. The shell was pretty thick, very crunchy, but also tasteless, and it just had a lot of oil and spices on it. And the inside, I felt the inside only after I ate that head. And here we saw an ad, a banner, an ad that said, I'm looking for a girlfriend. And I don't know if it's okay that I posted this guy, but it was like a very big thing on Subway, and there were like his WeChat, like WeChat QR code, his height, and everything. I do not judge him, because I don't know what I would do in a country where there are 75 million women went missing. If you don't know about it, it's all because of one child policy in the past, and were doing gender abortions. I guess you call it this way, gender abortions. So if they knew that it was a girl, they were aborting the baby, and sometimes they would even put needles in baby girl's head because they wanted her to die. I mean, of course it was pretty rare, not all Chinese people were doing that, but that cost, I think, around 75 million women in China go missing, and now Chinese men are in a very bad situation because they have to be very tall and very rich to have a woman. They always have to work. They can never relax, and this is the reason why I think a lot of Russian girls also learn Chinese and go to China now, because there are so many people in China and there are so many rich people in China. Here we went to a spa with girls. The first floor we had to be naked and it was a little bit awkward, but I mean, in all Asian saunas you have to be naked, and we were like scrubbed and massaged with hot oil. It was amazing. And then you get this nice pajamas, like robe, and you go to this floor where men and women, everyone is together, and you can chill in different rooms with oxygen or herbs. You can go eat in the cafeteria. You can eat fruits at a bar. I think you could even drink beer. I'm not sure, but it was very cool. You could even stay at night, and I think we stayed until 1 a.m. and then we went back. But a lot of people, I think, are coming to these spas and are staying for the night. Or I mean, I don't know if it's cheaper than a hotel. We paid 138 yuans. I don't know how you say in English, yuans, which is, I don't remember. I'll tell you, but it is very cheap for a thing like that. And the next day was amazing. It was warm, and this is where I noticed how similar this region is to South Korea. And look at these gardens. I thought that only Koreans were trying to grow food everywhere because they have this shortage of land, but they do the same in China, I guess. Maybe these people who are growing this food, not here, not on this clip, but overall, like in on the curbs and ditches, I can see people trying to grow tomatoes, lettuce. Maybe these people are very poor. Saying that there are a lot of rich people in China, of course there are a lot of poor people in China too. Of course, no jaywalking. They still walk. Chinese just do not give a damn about they jaywalk all the time. They do not care if it's the green or the red light. They just go and they do not care. But talking about poor people, I think most of the poor people are older people, because I noticed how many older janitors there were on the streets. And Chinese people are not very neat. They they smoke a lot. I think 80% of men are smoking, or at least that was my perception of it. 80% are smoking, and after they finish smoking, they just throw the butt of the cigarette right away on the ground, and they do not care. Sometimes they even throw bottles and like litter in general. But the streets are still very clean. Mostly they are very clean because there are so many janitors on the streets just cleaning it all the time. And I think most of these people are either illiterate, because there are still a lot of older people in China who are either do not know pinyin, so they cannot type, or they only know the traditional version of characters, or they are just illiterate in general. And it is very sad because they can only do these ill-paid jobs. But it is also very cheap in China, so I imagine nobody is starving because everything, the food is extremely cheap, at least comparing to Russia nowadays. But Qingdao also used to be not like a Japanese colony, but there was a Japanese takeover. And during World War I, Japan, as Britain's ally, attacked the German base and occupied Qingdao in 1914. And after the war, they were not asked to return Qingdao back to China, and instead, according to the Treaty of Versailles, they recognized the interests of Japan. And then the decision triggered a huge protest in Beijing on May 4, 1919, the start of the May 4th movement, a turning point in modern Chinese nationalism and culture. And Qingdao finally came back under Chinese rule in 1922, though Japan kept strong economic influence for a while. You could see that red monument earlier. That was after this May 4th movement, as I remember. Here we went to a very nice restaurant, a Chinese traditional themed restaurant, and it also was very cheap. We shared all the meals. I really like this thing where you just spin your table and you share all the dishes. And I think everyone paid around $6 or $7 per person for the meal, and we were very full, which is crazy. And then I went to Beijing on a train, on a high-speed train. I was just sleeping the whole ride. In Beijing, to be honest, the first day I was very tired, and I was just walking. I didn't film much, and I didn't do much. I was just walking, looking around. And the next day I went to the Great Wall of China. And I didn't know about it, but the Great Wall of China is not one continuous wall built at one time, but a whole system of walls, forts and natural barriers built and rebuilt by many dynasties over more than 2,000 years. I had a very intricate trip to the part of the wall that I went to. I went to this part of the wall, and as I know, now it's the less touristy one. I missed my bus, and then I had to take another bus and a taxi to get there. Very long trip. And on the way up there, I mean, on the wall, I met a Brazilian family, and I spent the rest of the day with them. They were very cool, and I kind of spoke a little bit of Spanish with them, and it was very nice. And then we were walking around the Forbidden City, and we went to the Tiananmen Square. Do you guys know what happened here? Maybe someone knows. I don't know what happened there. But I think I didn't film enough on the wall. It was very beautiful, extremely, and I can only imagine how beautiful it is in summer, how green. But it was, I think, it was still very good, and it was nice that there were not a lot of people at that time of the year. And it was my last day, and then I went back to Russia. You can watch my mom's dog playing with the cat. It's so cute. They really like each other. Thank you guys for watching. See you soon.